Building a house can get expensive very quickly if you're not careful. Let's talk about the budget and how I plan to turn my dream into a reality. Hi, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found the space. And if you've been following the journey so far, welcome back. You know that I'm on the journey of building a home for me and my child, and I'm sharing everything on the way to making that dream a reality. If you're also on a similar journey, consider subscribing to the channel. And join our home building community on my website, buildingmyhome.co.za, to get your free savings tracker to help you start planning. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most important parts of this whole process, the budget. This part can feel overwhelming, but it's also important because it sets the tone for everything that follows. Before we dive into the numbers, I just want to say this. Start where you are. A lot of us delay building for years because we're waiting until we have hundreds of thousands of rands in the bank. And I get it. Building is expensive. But the truth is, very few people have all the money up front. The strategies I'm using are meant to help me tackle each phase step by step. Instead of thinking I need 500,000 Rand to build my house, I ask myself, what's the next phase I can afford? And I come up with a suitable strategy to tackle that phase. That way, every bit of progress gets me closer to the finish line. So I've broken down my budget into 4 main areas: the land costs, the building material, the labor costs, and a contingency fund for any unexpected expenses. I also have another section that I'll talk about later. As you know, I've recently acquired land, and I can honestly say that finding land is a journey on its own. Depending on where you want to build, in an urban area or a rural area, the cost will differ significantly. In urban areas, land prices are higher because you're paying for convenience. You're closer to schools, hospitals, shopping centers, and other amenities. But that convenience comes at a cost. Not just the cost of the land itself, but also things like property rates and taxes, stricter zoning regulations, and possibly higher construction costs. With this in mind, rural or semi-rural land was the better option for me financially. Although the land I got was expensive in rural terms, I had to concede that cost to have at least some access. That balance of urban and rural was important for me, like I previously shared. I didn't want to be too isolated, but I also didn't want the ongoing responsibility of property rates and taxes as it would be the case in an urban area. Overall, rural land is typically more affordable compared to the urban areas. You get a lot more for your money. You can design your home without being restricted. Plus, if you want to live off-grid with like solar power, a borehole, rural living can give you that opportunity. If you want to know more about rural land and how to acquire it, you can check out my Looking for Land series right here on the channel. Next up, let's talk about building materials. This is the biggest portion of my budget. I've managed to save 105,000 Rand specifically for building materials only. And I think that gives me a solid start toward my home building project. I want to make sure I get quality materials, but I'm also trying to keep everything as affordable as possible. So instead of splurging on high-end finishes, I'll be looking at affordable alternatives that will still give me the style and durability I want. So for the foundation, we'll be using red clay bricks. And for the walls, both internal and external, we'll be using block bricks. These will be locally sourced. They're cost-effective, fast to build with, and sourcing them locally means I'll be saving on delivery costs. For the roof, I'm leaning toward a metal roof, something like IBR or clip lock if I can source it. That's because it's cost-effective and durable. And lastly, for the windows, we'll be installing aluminum windows. Just to clarify, when I say building materials, I'm talking about the core structure of the house. The bricks, cement, sand, roof, all of that. This does not include finishes like flooring, ceilings, built-in cupboards, wardrobes, or even paint. Those will come later in a separate budget altogether. After building materials, the second biggest cost on my budget is labor costs. It's easy to forget that construction just doesn't involve buying materials. It also involves paying skilled people to bring the vision to life. Depending on where you're building, labor costs can vary significantly. In rural areas, labor might be affordable, but it's important to make sure that you're working with experienced and trustworthy contractors. My approach has been to gather multiple quotations in person by driving around high construction areas and finding builders that way, not just for price comparison, but also to gauge the quality of the builder's work in person. If you haven't seen it yet, I actually shared a full breakdown of the building quotations I gathered for my own project. That video gives you a good idea of the potential labor costs for a 3-bedroom home. The last part of my budget is the contingency fund. Having a little buffer for unexpected costs is crucial. I'm working on setting aside 15% of my total building materials budget for unexpected expenses, just to be on the safe side. So that's about 15,750, or rounded off to 16,000. I will try to save up to 20% of the total building materials budget in order to factor in those unexpected costs and also give myself a little bit of breathing room. As we speak, I'm still saving for that 15 to 20% of my building materials budget. But instead of waiting until I have the full amount in hand, I've decided to start with the foundation stage of the project. That's a very intentional decision on my part, because if I wait to have everything lined up, I'll keep delaying. But if I start with a clear plan and saving at the same time, I can make steady progress while still protecting myself financially. This isn't a strict part of the budget, but I thought I should include it to remind myself how important it is. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely planning for solar because, let's face it, Eskom is super unreliable and will probably continue to be in the future. I want to be prepared in case load shedding becomes a permanent reality in South Africa. It's a bit of an investment upfront, but I know that it will pay for itself in the long run. So that's where I am with my budget. It's a lot to take in, but it's such an important step, and it feels good to be moving in the right direction. We're getting closer to making this dream a reality. I hope this gives you a clearer picture of how I'm approaching the process, and I'm excited to share the next steps with you. If you're also planning to build, I hope this video gave you some useful tips on how to set up your own budget and get started on your journey. Building a home on a budget is totally doable with some planning and smart decisions. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.